Hi there, thanks for joining me. This is one of a series of short films which use video footage that I discovered in the course of my research for writing my book, Retreat. This particular video is about the Vedas. One of the things I wish I'd explored in a little bit more depth in the course of writing the book is the Hare Krishna movement. It's a sort of slightly forbidding thing, and I think generally people sort of strikes terror into the heart of most Westerners. But really it's just, your standard model Hindu philosophy. Particular protagonist of the Hare Krishna movement was Allen Ginsberg. And in fact, even before Prabhupada came to America, Ginsberg was, using the Maha Mantra, which is the Hare Krishna mantra. And so I've got a couple of little clips here of Alan talking about the Hare Krishna movement in San Francisco, and then a great little clip a short clip, mercifully probably, of him playing his harmonium on the firing line show and doing the Hare Krishna mantra on telly.
And did a lot of singing in the park, and so I used to come down, help out, and sing along too. I had been singing Hare Krishna since '63, and it seemed to me that almost as if reinforcements had arrived from India. My idea at the time was that the more swamis the better, and the more spiritual teachers the better, because America seemed to have sunk in a morass of aggressive and murderous militarism in those days. That was right in the middle of the Vietnam War, and I'd come home from India via Saigon. So anybody going out on the street, particularly, and singing in the street seemed to lighten the whole American scene. That seemed like a breakthrough of joy, dancing, human voice. And so it seemed like a marvelous social contribution.
I come from an old tradition, so... You know the Hare Krishna chant?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. To the preservation of the universe instead of its destruction. Krishna returns in the Bhagavad Gita every time there's a flood, fire, original sin leading to atom bombs. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare.
Even more than the Hare Krishna movement, Transcendental Meditation is inseparable with the ideas of Eastern philosophy and the counterculture. And so I've got a few clips here that relate to Transcendental Meditation. The first is a wonderful clip of Maharishi Yogi walking alongside a lake and giving a pretty good impromptu description of what the action of using a TM mantra will achieve, or will achieve theoretically. And it's a little bit scurrilous of me, but I talk about Star Wars in a previous video which I've put together on Jung. But although the model of Yoda was actually, people are described as actually being based on the gentleman who created the model in the first case, I think that George Lucas must have been wanting to create echoes of the yogis, and explicitly Maharishi Yogi. There's certain vocal tics that which he makes, Maharishi Yogi makes, which I think they've reproduced with Yoda. And I just think the dress and the way it's named, I'm sure there's probably a lot of theory about this, but I thought it was amusing to put them together, especially because the idea of the self, the existence, this kind of the philosopher's god that is alluded to in the Vedas and in the ideas of TM, is pretty much reproduced in Star Wars as the Force, and the Siddhis, what is described as the the secret powers that you attain through the process of meditation very much echo the powers of the Force.
The depth of the lake and the ripples and the beautiful reflection of the glacier reminds me of the story of inner life. The mind is deep like a lake. The ripples on the surface represent the conscious mind, the activity of the mind on the surface. And the whole depth of the lake is silent. And that is the subconscious mind, which is not used by the waves. But if the waves could deepen and incorporate more silent levels of the water, the waves could become the waves of the ocean, the mighty waves. This is what happens in Transcendental Meditation. The surface activity of the conscious mind deepens and incorporates within its fold the depth of the subconscious. And with practice, nothing remains subconscious. The whole subconscious becomes conscious. And a man starts using full potential of the mind.
I can't. It's too big. Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.
You want the impossible.
So more on TM. I was extremely fortunate and very grateful to have the opportunity to interview Prudence Farrow-Bruns for Retreat. And here's a section of a small clip that's available on YouTube where she talks about Transcendental Meditation.
I have a PhD in Sanskrit and I've written a couple of books, but I think I'm most famous for being Dear Prudence from the Beatles song. I got involved in TM because I wanted to be alive inside. I wanted to be a spiritual person. I felt I really wanted to study under the one person who knew about it, and that was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So once I learned TM, then I became obsessed with trying to study it more. And even though the Beatles were on the course and it was a big deal and they were wonderful people, that wasn't as important to me. So my focus was going into my room and meditating, which wasn't necessarily understood by a lot of people, but it was because I knew that my time was precious there, under the tutelage of a master of yoga, and I don't regret a moment of it. My generation, we went through an identity crisis together, a lot of us. And the Beatles were exemplary of us. They were our voice. That was a transition from the outside to the inside. If we want to change the world, we don't look out here, we look in here. And so that was a major shift, and it's being carried on. Only you need to be inspired again. You need to be, or maybe for the first time, you need to realize you're carrying on something that started with our generation. It was a revolution in thinking, and it needs to be kept going. We need a better world. We need people to be more conscious, to be more evolved. And expanding the mind like TM does is absolutely vital to bringing about stronger people. If you can strengthen people inside, you've changed the world. My name is Prudence Farrell-Bruns, and I transcend proudly.
Besides the gigantic figures like Prabhupada and Mahesh Maharishi Yogi, there were a bunch of other slightly less well-known gurus who were important in bringing Hindu philosophy to the West. Others notably are Muktananda, Sri Chinmoy, Chinmayananda, and as well, probably a sort of a first rank would be the Guru Satchidananda, who was famous for giving the opening address at the Woodstock Rock Festival.
My beloved sisters and brothers, I am overwhelmed with joy to see the entire youth of America gathered here in the name of the fine arts of music.
And I am really very much honored for having given this opportunity of opening this great music festival. So let all our actions and all our arts express yoga through the sacred art of music. Let us find peace that will pervade all over the globe. Let us not fight for peace, but let us find peace within ourselves first.
When the Beatles were meeting with Mahesh Maharishi Yogi in Rishikesh, the same time in India in 1968, Rajneesh, who's now very well known thanks to the documentary Wild Wild Country, was giving his lectures about sex. And there's an interesting book of his collecting some of these early lectures called Sex and Superconsciousness. So Rajneesh is particularly interesting for my argument, which concerns the connection between therapies, psychotherapies explicitly, and spiritualities, because he was extremely interested in psychoanalysis, particularly Wilhelm Reich. So there's a short clip from, if you can find it, really amazing kind of exploitation documentary called Fear is the Killer, on YouTube, which shows one of the therapy sessions at Pune, which kind of grew out of the idea of the encounter movement. So they're kind of a sort of the bastard stepchildren of Esalen. And then there's an interesting thing of the group dancing together in Oregon.
New sannyasins were pushed on through intense physical and emotional experiences in rapid-fire order. Rajneesh called it therapy. Many of the so-called therapy groups were nothing more than uncontrolled experiments. But the Rajneesh system goes one step further. This is called dynamic meditation. This violent frenzy continues on and on, creating a mind-altering form of hyperventilation. Wild movement alternates with periods of utter stillness.
When it comes to talking about the Vedas and the counterculture, the elephant in the room, or the Ganesh in the room, is Ram Dass and Be Here Now. I am a big fan of Bhagavan Das, who actually coined the term Be Here Now that is so famous and that Ram Dass used for his book. I particularly enjoyed interviewing Bhagavan Das at Mount Shasta in Northern California. He really struck me as somebody who really had a handle on the concept. And to that end, I'd like to include at the end of this short video about the Vedas a really, really wonderful clip of Bhagavan Das on absolute prime form. He's hilarious and eloquent and very incisive. So you get an idea of why I think he's a hugely underrated character.
What is the sensation of God? God has a feeling. It is not a big deal. It is the littlest of all deals. I saw this issue of Life magazine. It was like the major religions of the world. Okay, so they first Buddhism. Open the page up, and there's like 10,000 monks, all the Tibetans line up. Right, so there's the army religion. Then the flip page, Islam. There's another 10,000 people all praying towards Mecca. Army religion, right? Christianity, masses, right? Army religion. There's the Pope, and there's another 30,000 people. Then flip the page over, it's like Hinduism. And there's like this mother and father, a couple in their kitchen with a couple of children, and on the floor is a little tray like this, and there's this little god about this big on the tray, and then they're all like worshiping it. It's kind of nice, Huh? Get personal with it, right? Get really personal with the Divine Mother, You see, if you take a form and you let the divine come through the form, through your love in your worship, it will come. It will come. That's what you need to know. I mean, I can just sit and look at this tray for hours and all of a sudden and pray to this tray and go, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. She is coming on the tray because I have made a place for her to come. She comes because of faith. If you walk out into the forest and you bow down to that tree and you talk to that tree and you tell that tree how much you love it and you love that tree and you really get down with that tree, and then you sit up and you kiss that tree, and then you lean up against that tree and you meditate, that tree will talk to you. You see? God will meet you at the tree, at the base of the tree. Right? let's just say you have a little room in your house. You can say, I consecrate this room as a temple. If you consecrate the room as a temple, and you start doing worship in there, and you start chanting in there, and you start meditating in there, and you light the lamp in there, and you make that offering, I will tell you now that you will be met by the Divine Mother. She will enter that room. When you walk in that room, you will be in the zone. You will be there. I dare you to do it.
So I hope you enjoyed that short clip, and do please check out the other 7 clips in the playlist. And if you're so inclined, buy yourself a copy of my book Retreat, and there'll be a description in the description below where you can buy it on Amazon.